Good day. This is our continuation of our commercial mortgage training series, this one titled Complaints Caused by Co-Brokering Commercial Real Estate Loans. A broker chain or co-brokering is a condition where a broker might team up with an additional broker to find a home for a loan transaction. As you can imagine, commercial loans are very complex, and a broker may or may not have time to complete the transaction and still wants to be paid, or they have some personal relationship with the borrower. If you run into one of these transactions, it's important that the intentions of the borrower are considered first. If the intentions are not realistic, then stop. You can generally get an executive summary from the borrower or the first broker, and this will yield enough information to pass on to your lender or underwriter to determine if there is a viable loan prospect present. Expectations should be clearly set with the borrower. So, like it or not, the commercial world has changed financially. The rate today is practically immaterial, although it's understood that people like to save money, but there are many other ways of saving money in a loan transaction other than just rates. So changing rates is not a practical solution for all benefit. It is important if you've had somebody in a private money 14% loan and the conditions or situation that brought them to that 14% loan might put them in a loan at half that rate, then that would be a practical benefit. But the rate is what the rate is. It's important to find the benefit first, such as balloon notes, major adjustments, and such. If there is no benefit, then there's probably no loan. So again, it's important to determine what the borrower motivations are and get all the way back to the borrower and get it from the source, so to speak. Don't set your own expectations. Deal with the borrower directly. So many times the transactions that come into our underwriting department are titled rate savings or payment savings or rate and payment savings and $100,000 cash out. Something has to give. So again, the first broker in the transaction, or secondarily the next broker in the transaction, should be in a position where they could speak to the borrower and get the correct information. If you set the wrong expectations or if you form incorrect opinions, you won't have a loan. Documentation for a commercial loan is very thick, and every question seems to give birth to another. When you're in a situation where the documentation is filtered by multiple brokers, then the timeline will eventually run out. In other words, if an underwriter asks a broker for information and that broker has to convey it to an additional broker, and that broker has to convey it to the borrower, you can bet your bottom dollar that each person is adding something to the request. And if an underwriter finds that this is occurring, in other words, if a document or two is asked for and it takes weeks and weeks to get the documentation, I'll guarantee you that your loan will be quickly on the back burner. So the conclusion here is that if you're called upon to be an expert, then absolutely be one. Get directly in contact with the borrower and determine what the borrower's motivation is going to be. Let the system work, and in order for the system to work, you should obtain and transmit all the documentation and information or motivation of the borrower with authority and, above all, honesty. If the motivation from the borrower doesn't sound right to you, you should still just transmit that straight to the underwriters so that a viable proposal can be made. But the moral is it's nearly impossible to filter this information, and these loans will very likely not work.